the story of Briar Rose, the Sleeping Beauty. A long time ago, there lived a king and queen who said every day, "Ah, if only we could have a child." It seemed to them that they had waited forever when an unexpected thing happened. One day, while the queen was bathing, a frog crept out of the water onto the land and spoke to her. "Your wish shall be fulfilled. Before a year has passed, you shall have a daughter." What the frog said came true, and the queen brought a beautiful child into the world. The parents thought her so lovely they could hardly contain their joy. And the king ordered a great celebration. "The honor of your presence is requested at the castle in celebration of the birth of a royal princess." Not only did he invite their relatives, friends, and acquaintances, but also the wise women who could use their magic powers to enrich the baby's life. There were 13 of these honored women in the kingdom, but as the king had only 12 golden plates and feared that nothing else would be good enough, one of the wise women could not be invited. After a splendid feast, the 12 wise women bestowed upon the baby many virtues, naming everything of true value in this world. "I give you compassion, inner beauty, and riches of the spirit. Our gifts are laughter, and tears. I give you hope, and wisdom, and imagination. We offer friendship and love. I bless you with self-knowledge." But when 11 had spoken, the 13th appeared, and furious at being left out, she raged, "The king's daughter shall, in her 15th year, prick herself with a spindle and fall down dead." You can imagine everyone's shock. Fortunately, the 12th wise woman had not yet spoken, and she stepped forward. She had no power to undo the spell, but only to soften it. So she said, "It shall not be death into which the princess shall fall, but a deep sleep of 100 years." All of the wise women's fond wishes for the child came true. She grew to be so lovely and modest, and gentle, and wise that she was cherished by everyone. And the king, who wanted dearly to protect his child from the evil spell, ordered that every spindle in the kingdom be destroyed. Believing that he had thus ensured his daughter's safety, he accepted a duty which took him and the queen away from the castle on the very day his daughter became 15. To pass the long day alone in the castle, the princess let her curiosity lead her wherever it would. Through enormous rooms and into darkened corners, through passageways and into bedchambers she wandered, exploring every nook of the castle until she came to an old tower. wherein a narrow, winding staircase beckoned her. At the top, she found a little door with a rusty key. And when she turned it, the door sprang open, and there, hidden away in a little room, sat an old woman spinning her flax. "Good day, old mother," said the king's daughter. "What are you doing there?" "I am spinning," said the old woman, and nodded her head. "What sort of thing is that, rattling around so merrily?" asked the girl. And scarcely had she reached for the spindle when she pricked her finger with it, and the magic decree was fulfilled, for she fell down upon the old woman's bed and was overcome by a deep sleep, which quickly spread over the entire castle. Downstairs, the king and queen, who had just returned and entered the great hall, were overcome by sleep. The horses, too, went to sleep in the stable, the dogs in the yard, the pigeons upon the roof, the flies on the wall. Even the fire on the hearth quieted and slept, and the roast stopped frizzling. And the cook, who was just about to pull the hair of the lazy scullery boy, let him go and went to sleep. And the wind fell, and on the trees before the castle, not a leaf moved again. All around the castle, a briar hedge with thorns as sharp as claws began to grow. Each year it grew higher, until finally it surrounded and covered the entire castle. So at last there was nothing left to be seen, not even the flags on the roof. And the story of the Sleeping Beauty, whom people began to call Briar Rose, was told far and wide. And as time went on, many were the tales told of kings' sons who tried to pass through the thorny hedge, but could not, for the briars held fast together as if they had hands. And still the story grew to tell of young princes who had been hopelessly caught and had perished among the thorns. After many, many years, there came another prince into the country. He chanced to hear an old man recounting the tale of Briar Rose, asleep in a thorn-covered castle, and of the many young men who had tried to no avail to break through the cruel hedge. But the youth said, "I am not afraid. I will go and see the beautiful Briar Rose." The old man tried to dissuade him, but the prince would not listen. It just so happened that the 100 years had finally passed, and this was the dawning of the very day when Briar Rose was to awaken. So that when the prince approached the thorn hedge, the briars suddenly blossomed into wondrous flowers which parted and let him pass unharmed, and then closed once more behind him. In the castle yard, the prince saw the horses and the spotted hounds asleep, and on the roof, the pigeons roosted with their heads under their wings. Inside the castle, the flies slept on the wall, and the sleeping cook still held out his hand to grab the lazy scullery boy, and the kitchen maid sat absolutely still, with a hen in front of her that needed plucking. And further on, he saw the king and queen asleep in the great hall, and on he went and found only stillness. At last, he discovered the narrow stairway and climbed it, and opened the little door where Briar Rose lay sleeping. And there she was, so beautiful that he could not turn his eyes away. And he stooped down and tenderly kissed her, and her eyes opened, and she smiled gently. Then they went down together, and the king awoke and the queen, and looked at one another in astonishment. And in the castle yard, the horses stood up and shook themselves. The spotted hounds jumped up and wagged their tails. The pigeons on the roof lifted their heads from under their wings, looked about, and flew into the open country. The flies on the wall crept again. The fire in the hearth flamed up and the meat began to frizzle. And the cook gave the kitchen boy such a box on the ears that he let out a howl. And the kitchen maid at long last plucked the chicken. And so the prince and Briar Rose were soon married in splendor. And they lived in contentment for the rest of their days.